it's me, James. Good morning and happy Monday to you all. I'm filming this video on Monday, January the 20th, 2025. And for this week's Oracle Outlook video reading, I am sticking with my Kipper deck. I am once again using the Kipper of Himm. And if you're landing on this video for the first time, thank you so much for stopping by and checking out content on my channel. And if you're returning, welcome back. So I made this Kipper deck in 2023, and it is a personal Kipper deck, one I made for myself, and I have been using it lately on this channel a lot this month. I started off with the idea on New Year's Day doing what I'm now calling the Kipper-Cast for the month ahead, and I, based on that reading, have been sticking with this deck. And so if you remember that reading, I opened with the idea that it was showing something having to do with politics in the first impression, because one of the cards that showed up was Courthouse, that I got pertained to the inauguration. Well, today is Inauguration Day. So I thought because of that, in connection to that reading, that I would go ahead and use this deck once again. So we're going to do a line of 5 reading, so I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to shuffle the cards. And as I shuffle, my intention for these weekly general readings is to just ask for any information, any insight, any guidance or advice that's going to be most helpful as we move through this upcoming week. So I'm shuffling that intention into the cards. Alright, I'm going to go ahead now and cut the deck. Now I'm going to fan out the cards. And like I said, I'm doing a line of 5 reading, so I'm going to pick 5 cards in the fan that are getting my attention. Alright, so those are the 5 cards. I'm going to take the remainder up and move it to one side. Alright, so we have our 5 cards for our line of 5. I'm going to spread them out in the order that they were selected. So we have card 1 over here, 2, 3 in the middle, 4 and 5. Okay, so now the way I approach working with Kipper is I start with the card on the far left, and based on the category of the card, it could shift the narration of the story. So what I mean by that is we could start this way, and based on a card, the story in terms of direction could shift because some of the cards have very important directional cues. Okay, so let's start with the card on the far left, opening the line up. We have Good Gentleman. So now Good Gentleman is a person card, I should say, or one of the people cards in the deck. And the way I have highlighted this card is that each category has a different color border. So the people cards in my deck have a purple border. So we are opening up with a card that represents an older male person. So this could be a male person or a male presenting person, but he is older. So now I always like to explain this regarding Kipper and the story of Kipper. You and I who are landing on this video, or me creating the video and you watching the video, we are considered in the Kipper system either main person 1, which is a male person, or main person 2, which is a female person. We are always the main characters in the story. And so Good Gentleman would be a supporting player in our story, and he represents a person who is older than either main person 1 or main person 2. So I would look at this card as a person who was older than myself as the reader, and all of you who are watching as the viewers, right? And typically this card would suggest somebody who's helpful, unless a card called False Person is next to this card, then it would suggest a person who is insincere, not totally upfront, not totally above board, that kind of thing. Right? So now we also have a line of sight reading because he is facing this way. Right? So a couple of other things about this card. So going back to the older male, so this could be a family member. So this could be a father or a father type figure. Could be an older sibling, older cousin. It could be an uncle, a grandfather, things like that. If it's not a family relation, then again, this would be somebody who was older. As I said, when Good Lady appeared in the reading, and I believe she showed up in this position last week, if I remember correctly. And so he could also be an authority figure. So if this is about a working situation or a job situation, this would be, a boss, somebody in a senior position of authority, yeah, leader, supervisor, something like that. Playing on the idea that this would be somebody older. This could also be an ex, because I used that explanation with Good Lady last week, right? Playing on the idea of older, right? Something older meaning something from the past, right? So those are some ideas for Good Gentleman. So now let's move to the next card because he's facing this card. And here we have Gloomy Thoughts. Okay, so Gloomy Thoughts is a cause and effect card. You'll note that by the yellow border. And Gloomy Thoughts is one of the most challenging cards in the deck. I liken it to Clouds in Lenormand, if you're familiar with that system. And going with that, Gloomy Thoughts can represent confusion, doubt, or uncertainty. It can also represent a pessimistic state of mind or a negative outlook, right? And so now going with this idea, cause and effect, now this is why I always talk about Kipper the way I do in terms of narration, because now this card being cause and effect shifts the narration a little bit. In one sense, you could look at this and go, okay, so the older man who's opening the story up is facing negative, pessimistic thoughts, right? He's facing this, right? So this is something that he's facing. So this could be coming from other people who are viewing him in a certain way or a certain light, yes? Now, it could also be cause and effect. This would be the cause of the gloomy thoughts, right? So it's going to be very important to look at this middle card, right? But this would be the cause of the gloomy thoughts. This would be the effect of the gloomy thoughts. So an older man is going to be affected by negativity, pessimism, confusion, doubt, uncertainty, right? Now I have some ideas based on the day this reading is being done, but I'm going to remain as neutral as I can because as a reader it is my belief that all readers should maintain some level of neutrality when they're doing readings, yeah? But I have some idea what this is about, right? Okay, so that's what I'm seeing with these two cards. Again, Gloomy Thoughts is about negativity, pessimism, confusion, doubt, uncertainty, right? And it's going to affect or have some effect on an older man, or an older man is going to be facing this type of energy. Okay, so now let's take a look at the cause card in the middle. And here we have another cause and effect card. Okay, so theft. So theft in a literal sense could represent something being taken, right? So this could be something being taken, something being stolen, something of that nature. I tend to look at theft, if it's not in the literal sense, then there's a takeaway, quote unquote, from the experience that's going to be unfolding this week. So higher mind, higher level of awareness, like every time we have an experience, the question could be like, what's the takeaway? Meaning like, what am I learning from this, right? But now this could also be about, now remember, this is the cause here of the gloomy thoughts, right? So it could be, there's an energy of feeling robbed or cheated or something being stolen, right? And again, that's going to have some effect on an older man. Or again, if we read line of sight, then this older man is experiencing this, right? He's facing this going forward right now. So that was the cause here. But now, the theft card is interesting because the dynamic here is that here he's leaving the scene of the crime, so the theft has happened here, cause. It's going to have an effect here. So there's a sense of something being taken, something being stolen, that the effect is going to be gloomy thoughts. Remember now, this is pessimism, negativity in terms of outlook and going forward, yeah? And again, it's going to affect an older man, or an older man has an effect on that. Right, so now, yeah. So that's how I would look at this. Again, leaving the scene of the crime, and this is the effect. So this would be the cause. So now let's take a look here. Oh my gosh. Here we have court official, right? Okay, so the cause of the sense of thievery, being robbed, cheated, the cause from that, excuse me, is a legal process. Court official for me can represent, based on the image here, we have a judge and a lawyer having a conversation at the judge's bench, right? So this card can represent decisions, verdicts, rulings, things of that nature, right? It typically represents a process in terms of help, support, advice involving a neutral third party. But I'm going based on the energy that I'm getting from these other cards. I would say this has to do with a legal ruling, verdict, decision, something of that nature. It's a card like using one's judgment. Now you'll note that there's a pink border card which represents a connector card, right? And the connector card connects cards on either side of it. And so we have this in the middle of these two cards. So on the one hand, it is connected to this sense of something being stolen, something being robbed, a takeaway, that kind of thing. So if theft is about, something being stolen, and on this side it would be the scene of the crime, leaving the scene, then the scene of the crime started with some kind of ruling, decision, or verdict, and perhaps in the legal sense, right? But it's saying that the theft is connected to a decision, a ruling, a verdict, something of that nature. It's almost making me feel sometimes theft for me represents, getting away. The image that I created here has the burglar leaving in the cover of night, so he's like getting away. So it could be like the view here, maybe again affecting negativity, pessimism, outlook, that kind of thing. Could be the idea that somebody has gotten away with something with the support of a decision, a ruling, or a verdict in a court of law. Like somebody has gotten away with it. And this is going to affect an older man. So the older man, again, is facing this, right? So it could be now if we go back to the idea, like there's two different directions going on here. Then this could be a older man who is facing some sort of ruling, verdict, decision down the line, if we go this way. But now, let's see what this is connected to as the last card. Oh my gosh, so many cause and effect cards this week. So I would say that there's going to be something that's going to have a great effect on a number of people, just because the majority of cards were cause and effect cards. Now, this is no stranger to these weekly readings at this point, right? Expectations has shown up in a number of the weekly readings throughout this month. So if you're no stranger to this particular video series, and or you may remember anyway, that expectations represents, waiting for something to arrive. So here we have another cause and effect, right? So court official is connected to expectations. Remember, this is a connector card, and this is a cause and effect card. Now she's facing, looking out the window. So this is about waiting for something to arrive, right? She's waiting for something. So she's waiting for, and I say she metaphorically, right? So there is an expectation and anticipation, waiting for a particular ruling, verdict, or decision to be made. Yeah, that's the effect, or, whatever the cause here. And I'm going to have to pull another card here because I'm always curious when I pull expectation and it's at the end of the line, and I think that's the case it was last week if I remember correctly, because I had to widen the screen to include another card. Right, and I'm going to do that again. But so the anticipation, the expectation, the waiting, this is a card of patience as well, is going to affect or have some effect on a decision, a ruling, or verdict. And at the same time I'm saying that, remember that this card is also connected to this. So there's a connection here between these two. Right? And in addition, this card connects the cards on either side as well. So it could be, based on a decision, it's going to appear or maybe give the appearance that somebody's getting away with something. Okay, so now let me go ahead and pull back like I did last week, and we'll make room for one more card. All right, so let me go ahead and slide the cards over. All right, there should be enough space. And just like I did last week, ooh, I'm sorry, I jostled the tripod. Okay, so just like I did last week, I'm going to take the remainder of the deck. I have it in my hand right here. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle again. And as I shuffle, we're asking about the cause that expectation is presenting to us. All right, I'm going to go ahead and shuffle the cards again. I said shuffle, I mean cut the cards again. You all can see that at the top. So now I'm going to fan the cards out. You all can see the fan there. So now I'm looking at the fan and I'm seeing if a card is getting my attention. I'm going to go with this one over here. I'm going to put it here. Okay, so now remember, this card that I just pulled is the cause of the expectation, the anticipation, the need to wait or to have patience, and it's also a card that can suggest needs, wants, and desires. So let's take a look at the card. And here we have a letter. Okay, so the letter card is a card that can talk about communication, and I do believe this showed up last week as well. So this card represents all forms of communication. So it can represent conversation, right? Going with the idea that communication can be verbal, but in a nonverbal sense, it could represent something being written, right? So this could be paperwork, documentations, things like that. I'm trying to go with the idea that we have court official in the line, right? And if there's a connection to this and a cause, so there may be something having to do with paperwork, documentation, something of that, something in writing. It could also be, text messages, voicemails, emails, again, with the idea of something being written down. But in terms of this part of the scenario here, then this is also the cause. So something that was either recorded, talked about, communicated, documented is the cause for the anticipation, the expectation, the need, the desire for a decision, right? Remember outlook, a decision, a verdict, a ruling. Now I will say, just based on what I'm sensing from the cards, if this is a verdict, a decision, a ruling, it may have to do with some kind of report, right? Going with the idea that, I'm tying this all together with what has transpired out in the landscape before Inauguration Day, the day that this video is being filmed, right? So there's some decisions to be made about particular reports or documents, right? So I'm sensing that and waiting on that. There's anticipation for that, waiting for that to come out. And then we come back to the older man, right? Older man is facing this. So they may be facing a decision regarding some sort of paperwork, documentation, or report or reporting, right? Now, I will also say that this could also be media, since I said reporting, so this could be a card about media reporting on, events taking place regarding an older man going as he's moving into a situation, right? So there's all sorts of challenges with the cause and effect cards here, but this is also, for me, I'm really feeling this is a significant card because there is some sort of maybe pending ruling, verdict, or decision. So with that, I'm going to wrap up this week's Oracle Outlook video reading. As I sign off, I am James Tim Mitchell. Thank you so much for giving me the gift of your time, and I look forward to sharing this space with you in a future Oracle Outlook video reading. So until then, take care, be well, have a great day, and I hope you have a great week.